Good morning, grandkids. It's time to read another chapter of The Young Wizard Dorkly in a Land Far, Far Away. This chapter is going to be a little bit short because I came to a stopping place in the story and I didn't want to continue from there. Otherwise, it would have turned into a really long chapter. So I'm going to leave it a little short. This is chapter 17. Gorman comes into the courtroom a little late this morning, walks over to stand to the right and slightly behind the court throne. The king gives him a look with raised eyebrows, but finishes his conversation with one of the several citizens inside the room. The man walks away and the guard leads a small, older lady before the king. Connolly holds up a hand for her to wait a minute, then turns his head looking at Gorman. "How are you feeling today?" he asks. "Better right now, sire." "Well, if you need to at any time, walk over to my sitting room and sit down. I have water and mead and some snack sitting on the table for you. I also stationed Major Bonester in there to take care of anything that you might need." And he turned back to the lady waiting before him. After a couple of hours of taking care of the citizens before him, the king was still worried about Wizard Gorman. But during this time, Gorman had to walk away and went to the king's sitting room. Major Bonester was beside him immediately. Gorman sat down and poured himself some water. "Could you please tell me," he asked in a low, quiet voice, "where I can go to throw up?" Bonester was shocked, but immediately took charge. He took the wizard's arm and led him through a side door into a room with nothing but a large bucket on the floor. He held on to Gorman, pulling his long hair back and holding it as poor Gorman bent over the bucket and emptied his foul insides. When he was through, the major handed him a clean cloth off a shelf and then led him back to his chair. As Gorman sat down, his face looked ashen, and Bonester poured him a small amount of mead and handed it to him. "I really think that you need to let me bring a healer to you," Bonester said. "No, not now. Just stay with me. But later, tonight, without saying anything to the king, bring a healer to me. Can you do that?" Gorman practically whispered. "Of course, sire," Bonester said. "Thanks. Sit down. Have a mead with me until the king comes." Meanwhile, Dorkly and Boots, traveling back to the palace, decided to stop at the Corkscrew Mine Village. There, Dorkly sees a younger miner sitting at a small table on the dirt path outside. Well, outside a dark-looking pretense of an eatery. Dorkly sits down at the table and looks at the miner. "My name's Dorkly. You aren't working today?" "I know who you are, and I go into the mine after lunch," the man said. "Did you want something?" This man was probably in his 30s, but he looked older. He had unruly dark hair and a short, scruffy-looking beard. His eyes were close set, and he was looking at Dorkly with suspicion. Well, I was going to sell a couple of potions to a man who changed his mind. So I thought I'd find someone else who might want to buy them. You interested? What are they for? He asked in a deep, rough voice. Well, if you rub it on your waistband or buckle and face someone, it shows you what they might be carrying, if they're up to no good. Like if they had just been stealing something from someone. I sold some to the shopkeeper so he could see who was stealing from him, Dorkly said. Yeah, I'd buy some of that, the man said. So Dorkly sold him both potions that he had left, but he didn't tell him that it would only last for a couple of minutes. The guy then got up and shuffled toward the mine, muttering, I'm not interested in reporting someone. I'm interested in seeing if they have anything worth my effort of stealing. And he chuckled as he continued on his way to work. As Dorkly neared the palace's outer gates, he drops off Boots and his horse Cheesy and makes his way through the torn-up city gates and the workers and stops. He looks up with a grin and waves at the unsmiling guards on the wall, and he calls up to them. See, you still got men working on the broken-down gate. Must be a hard job, he chuckles. The guards give him a finger and turn away. They aren't laughing. Dorkly moves on across the large outer court and among the homes until he reaches the palace walls. As soon as he steps inside, a guard snags him and accompanies him into the group of citizens waiting to see the king. Conley sees them and crooks his finger at them to come up to the throne. The guard leaves and Dorkly walks up the couple of steps before the king. What is it, sire? Dorkly, your father is sick. He's across the court, sitting in my sitting room. Major Bonester is with him. He's not letting me talk him into seeing a healer. This has happened a couple of times now. And the fact that he comes in here late almost every morning, something is wrong, and I'm worried about him. I'm going to insist that he stay in his chambers, and I want to take his place for 2 or 3 days until he's better or we find out what's wrong. Go on over there and be with him until I finish up here. Oh, and I've planned a family dinner this evening. I will want you there also. Dorkly is shocked, dumbfounded, even fearful. He has never given much thought to being the king's regular wizard by his side at the throne. He starts to worry and mumble as he hurries over across the courtroom to his dad, worrying about what's going on, what's gotten him sick, why he won't see a healer. He walks into the sitting room and is stunned to see how gray and sick that his dad actually is. So that's the end of this chapter. I know it's short, but I didn't want to continue from there because what will come after, I'm sure would make this chapter way too long. So we'll just start a new chapter. So I will see you all later, grandkids, and I hope you are enjoying the story. And I'll get the next chapter on here next Friday. So I'll see you then. Bye-bye. Didn't click off.